All right, here's a quick overview and demo of this project here. What we have is we have a leap motion, and it's connected to the PC, and the PC here is running a custom software running in Unity. The Unity is connected to a webcam here, and that webcam is displaying back into Unity. Unity is also running a service that the Teensy here connects to over Bluetooth, and that's to control the position of the servo, and it's also control feedback on these LEDs here. When I put my hand over the leap over here, what happens is it gives me a notification that my hand is over the leap, and then if I move my hand to the side and gesture left or right, the camera will then proceed to move those directions, and then the lights on here will update accordingly. And that's a quick overview of the project. All right, we're going to go over an overview of what this project is and what makes up this project. So first of all, it's not really a practical project because of what everything goes together. Original intent would be everything would be run off of a single Raspberry Pi or something similar to that, but due to limitations with this thing here, the leap motion, it wasn't compatible with the Raspberry Pi, so I had to make different choices. So this item here I just mentioned, the leap motion, is a hand tracker. It connects to the computer and it tracks hands. Basically, it's really cameras that kind of point up and can track hands, and there's some hardware that makes it a little easier for it to track hands. So as you can see, there's you can see my hands, and it's kind of cool. It shows a representation of my hands, and it can actually track both hands. The software we're using is some custom remote software. It's written in Unity. I chose Unity because it would be easy for me to get the hands going in Unity instead of going with native C#. Unity is pulling in from a camera. That's this camera here. There's some controls on the screen that let me connect to different cameras if there's any connected. And then it also lets me connect over serial to this thing here. And in place of, this is a Teensy, and I used it in place of a Raspberry Pi because the Raspberry Pi was giving me some trouble with Bluetooth. This device has Bluetooth connected to it, and it makes a much simpler connection with Bluetooth, and that's kind of why I chose this. This is the interface device that interfaces with a servo, and that servo will be used to control where the camera points at, point left or right, based off of movements on your hand, by your hand. And then also, to give you some feedback, there's these lights, these addressable RGB lights that give the user feedback of kind of where it's at and motion, and you'll see in the demo when I do the demo, but it gives you feedback for that. So yeah, it's kind of this talks to this, or the computer talks to the Teensy, and then the Teensy talks to the servos, gives you feedback and kind of points back to the camera, and then the software brings in all the vision, everything together. Kind of a use case for this might be something like setting up in a car camera or something like that that's controlled by hand movements. All right, here's a quick overview of the hardware that I threw together. We've got a Teensy. What this is like an Arduino, but it's a different version of it. It's faster and it can do things, some interesting things that an Arduino can't. But it basically uses the same programming language. That is connected to a Bluetooth receiver here, and that's connected over a serial device, and it talks to the Teensy. Also connected, we have a servo. And then beyond the servo, we have some addressable RGBs. There's 6 of them on the thing there. There should be just some notes on the wiring. This is wired backwards here. So this line actually has to go to the beginning, because if you look on these, there's an arrow that shows that. So I have to rewire that later before I do anything more with this light strip, but that's an example of that. This is also a really power-hungry project, so I've got an extra power input here with USB, and that's coming in through here. Probably should have some more resistors in here, because I have seen a little some weirdness you'll see in the demo with the lights. But yeah, it's a pretty simple wiring job here. If there's requests, I can go into more detail.
Alright, we're going to do a kind of quick overview of the software that was involved in the demo. This here that we're looking at is the Unity software that was created for the demo. It connects to the Leap Motion and it via Bluetooth. It can also connect over serial connection, but in our case we use Bluetooth. And this is what let us send messages to that machine. So as you can see, it has a representation of hands. I put those in there to make it kind of easy when you're testing things out. There's some other debug information also. The software lets you choose a different camera if you want to look at that, or change ports. That's just useful for debugging. Here's a look at the project for the software. Not going to really get into detail here. We can get down rabbit holes really fast by getting into this stuff, but I will show you the kind of the main code for this project and kind of run over that quickly. And here that code is. We connect to a serial port. In this case, the COM6 or whatever we gets changed later on in the when the code's running. And basically, what we're doing is we're kind of looking for input information from the Leap Motion. And in these cases, I look for the hand roll here, make sure it's on the side, and move left or right. And this is the code. It's really simple code that actually does that. And when we communicate to the uh, to the Arduino or to the Teensy, we're just sending simple letter codes. I just did that for simplicity. And then it can also do some other stuff. There's some gestures in here where it can actually do some counting things also that I didn't show in the demo. And then here's how it kind of communicates with the serial port. It's really simple stuff. There's actually some lines in here. I had some trouble with the serial port communication. There's some extra stuff in here that's not even needed. Um, Onto the Arduino code. Here's the code here that runs on the Arduino or on the Teensy. And basically what it is it's a lot of it's just controlling the LEDs, um, taking in here's the code that takes in the message, and these are the different messages that this program currently takes in. It's just a few. I have some other ones that will take in more, but there's actually some different cases here. This is the counting code that shows different patterns based on how many fingers you're holding up and so forth. And then this down here is the code that controls the servo. Um, and keeps track of the servo position and where the servo light should be shown, and so forth. So that's kind of just a quick overview of the software. I can get into things in more detail if needed be, but that was just a kind of quick show to show what runs the magic behind